Today we're going to cover the religion of the Renaissance era. We're going to talk about the events that were going on in the Catholic Church, and we're going to also talk about a person that emerged out of the Renaissance religion and what did he do. So, as we talked about in earlier units, the Catholic Church was the main landowner and the supreme church during that era. Okay, and because it was the supreme church, it felt like it could rule over everybody. Now, there were three events that happened in the Catholic Church at the time. The first thing is Papal Schism. Papal Schism happened around the early 1300s. In 1301, the King of France tried to tax the clergy of the Catholic Church. As a result of this event, the Pope threatens to excommunicate the king. Now, what does excommunicate mean? Excommunicate means that to send away, to get rid of. Usually that means they're going to kick that person out of the church and send them to another country or another place outside of that area where nobody can really find them, and they are not welcome anymore. The next Pope, Clement V, moves the headquarters from Rome, where it had been for years and years, to a place called Avignon in southern France. Okay, that was a big change. Many people felt that because of all these events, that the French kings were controlling the church, and they did not like it. Okay, the second thing that was happening, corruption was happening in the Catholic Church at the time. They had the idea that they were going to raise money through selling indulgences. Well, indulgences leads us to our third reason. Indulgences is the idea during the Renaissance era that people would pay money for a person to go straight to heaven. Okay? And they wouldn't have a bad life after they died. Okay? Indulgences meant you paid money for you to go straight to heaven. Now, there's a problem with indulgences. Only wealthy, upper middle, maybe middle class had the money to pay for it. Lower class didn't. Okay, they didn't have the money to spend on indulgences. So they feared that how are we going to go to heaven if we can't pay for these indulgences? So there were some problems in the Catholic Church. Big problems. Papal Schism, corruption, indulgences. Alright, so out of this emerges a man by the name of Martin Luther. Now, this is not King Jr. I've had it for all my years of teaching. Martin Luther is not King Jr. It's Martin Luther. Martin Luther, 1483 to 1546. That's 300, 400 years before Martin Luther King Jr. So don't think it's Martin Luther King Jr. He was in Germany. He was a monk. He was troubled over the idea of indulgences. He feared that since he didn't pay for any indulgences, that he wasn't going to go to heaven. So, he began to criticize the church practices. He began to criticize the power of the Pope and indulgences. He wrote a series of 95 theses and nailed it to the door of Wittenberg Cathedral. In the 95 theses, Luther criticized two main things: the power of the Pope and indulgences. Now, you knew there was going to be criticism to this, to Martin Luther. At the time, Pope Leo X, he demands 41 of them 41 of the 95 theses had to come down. I want you to write in your notebook right now, which 41 do you think he wanted him to take down? Okay? Which 41 of the 95 do you think Luther or Pope Leo X wanted Luther to take down? In January 1521, Luther was excommunicated officially. Now, Luther was basically kicked out, sent out, whatever you want to call it, however you want to word it, kicked out, sent out. Luther was excommunicated. Now, Luther's followers, they continued to build. Okay, they continued to move, continued to build their ranks, build their membership. Luther's followers end up being called Lutherans. Now, do Lutherans still exist? Absolutely. Lutherans exist all across the United States and all across right here in North Carolina. there are Lutherans right here in this county. So Martin Luther has an impact on the world today. Lutherans are his members. So today we have talked about the events that are going on in the church at the time, the Catholic Church, Papaschism, corruption, the idea of buying indulgences themselves, that you had to pay your way to go to heaven. We talked about that Martin Luther was not in favor of it. He was troubled over the idea of indulgences, so he nailed 95 Theses to publicly criticize his concerns. He criticized the power of the Pope and indulgences. Pope Leo X demanded that he take them down. He didn't, so he was excommunicated in January 1521. His legacy continues. His followers are known as Lutherans, thus ending the Renaissance religion lesson for today.